Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our Week 2 recap of this fantastic start to the 2025 NFL season. Week started off with the Packers defeating the Commanders on Thursday night football. Packers defense with another dominating performance after beating up on the Lions week 1 and then taking it right back to the Commanders and Jaden Daniels in week 2. And now we will, before we get to that one, let's get to the game of the week. Yes, this one headed into overtime. Yes, it was tough to decide on the game of the week this week, but we're gonna go to one that has a number of exciting fantasy players for you. There's another one that I was going to pick, but didn't have quite as much pizzazz, I don't think. So we're gonna start her off with the old Cowboys and Giants matchup. Yes, here we go. If I can find it. Okay. All right. There it is. Okay. Okay. Now I have it ready for you, but I just am having difficulty bringing it up on the screen. Okay. Here we go. So, we have the Cowboys defeating the Giants 40 to 37 in overtime. Yeah, both QBs go well over 300 yards here. Dak for 361, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Russell Wilson 450, 3 touchdowns and a pick. 450 yards for a Giants quarterback. Yes. Scadaboo led the team with a 45 yards and a touchdown on the ground, but through the air, Malik Neighbors leading the way with a $167 on 9 catches, 2 touchdowns, including a 48-yarder with just 30 seconds to go in regulation that gave the Giants a 37-34 lead after George Pickens had just caught a touchdown to put the Cowboys up 34-30. So it's 37-34. The Cowboys had about 25 seconds after the kickoff. They got down into Aubrey's field goal range, not everybody's field goal range, but Brandon Aubrey drills a 64-yarder at the end of regulation to send it into overtime, and then he kicks another 42-yarder, I think it was, in overtime to win it. So, yes, it wasn't pretty, but the Cowboys survive and move to 1-1 on the season. For the Cowboys, well, I don't want to forget Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson had a 50-yard touchdown as well in this one. He finished with 8 for 142 and a touchdown. So all of you in those deeper leagues with Wan'Dale Robinson slid into the bottom of your lineup or in best ball formats. We're loving Wan'Dale this week. Over to the Cowboys side of things, CeeDee Lamb leading the way with 9 for 112. Didn't get into the end zone. Pickens, as I mentioned, did 5 for 68. His Cowboys coming out party, I guess. We'd like to see another even more monster of a game from him, but it's good enough. And Jake Ferguson also 9 catches for 78 yards. Kevontae Turpin, he even snuck into my best ball lineup in one league, 4 for 47 and a touchdown there. Javonte Williams getting it done out of the backfield for all of those who got Javonte late in your drafts. He is definitely paying off 97 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Miles Sanders stole one touchdown from him. Through the air, 6 for 33. So Javonte, all told, 130 total yards with 6 catches and the rushing touchdown. So big day for him. But yeah, this one was the story of the quarterbacks just going nuts. All right, we'll go to another one here that had some fireworks. And that one down in Miami. New England and Miami went back and forth here. This one had Drake May lighting it up. Just 19 of 23 for 230, 2 touchdowns, added a touchdown on the ground. Ramondre Stevenson with a solid day on the ground, 54 yards, but added 5 for 88 through the air. So that was definitely helpful to those of you who had Ramondre in your lineup. Outside of that, pretty much very evenly distributed target share for the Patriots. Nothing really special. Stephon Diggs just 4 for 32 there. Travion Henderson, not really what we were looking for. Just 3 for 10 on the ground and 2 for 30 through the air. Now over to the Dolphins. You had Devon Achane struggling again on the ground, just 11 for 30, but did have 8 for 92 and a touchdown through the air. Tyreek Hill also showing up this week. Even with all the troubles off the field, he came to play, 6 for 109, no touchdowns. Waddle did slide into the end zone. He had 5 for 68 and that touchdown. Tua finishes the day over 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And the Patriots come out on top with the kickoff return from Antonio Gibson, giving them the 3-point lead. It was 30-27 there at that point. Then they added on a field goal late. Andy Borregales drills a 53-yarder after missing 2 extra points earlier on. So for all of you stuck in leagues with kickers still, I'd pass and on Borregales. But anyway, quarterback showed up. Both of those, for both of those teams in that one. So what do we have for those 2 games? You know, we had a couple of quarterbacks there who were much maligned this offseason. Tua, just with the struggling Dolphins atmosphere around him, he showed up today at least. Drake May, somebody who a lot of people were thinking was pushed up too high, maybe, in the rankings, like dynasty-wise. I think he got shoved all the way up to quarterback 6 at one point. Basically, it was a battle all off season for who is the top quarterback after the big 5. You know, Allen, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow. Then a lot of people had Patrick Mahomes, but also shoved him down some. So then you had the likes of the younger guys like Drake May, Caleb Williams. Who am I missing? Well, Justin Herbert is in that mix as well. So yes, it's been quite the ride up and down between quarterbacks 6 through 12 or 13-ish in that range. But Drake May staking his claim today with a good, solid performance there down in Miami. We've got a battle tonight of second-year quarterbacks. Right now it's Atlanta leading Minnesota 9-6 as they just get underway in the second half. It was 9-3, and J.J. McCarthy hit Justin Jefferson with a 50-yarder just before the half. And the Vikings were able to tack on the field goal to make it 9-6, and now they're just underway with the Vikings having the ball to start the second half. Yes. All right, back to the matchups. We had more fireworks moving on to the NFC North. And two teams who had rough starts against division opponents in the North took on each other in Detroit. Ben Johnson returning to the scene of the crime. Yes, he leaves Detroit hanging, and that was, well, many had question marks as to how good the Detroit offense would be without Ben Johnson. Well, I think they wanted to make a statement today, and that they did. Jared Goff just scorching the Bears defense, 334 yards and 5 touchdowns, 3 of them to Amon-Ra St. Brown, as J.J. McCarthy, yeah, that'll be an incompletion. That clearly bounced off the turf. Jeez. What was the point in returning that? So, anyway, yes, Amon-Ra with the trifecta there, 9 for 115 and 3 touchdowns. J-Mo also with a touchdown, 2 for 108 on the day. And Isaac Tesla with another highlight reel catch, his only of the day. Look, the dude's got 2 catches on the season, and they're both, like, candidates for catch of the year. Brock Wright snuck into the end zone as Sam Laporta went into the locker room. We'll get you an injury update there. But yeah, the story there, Jared Goff. Oof. Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery both got into the end zone as well. So Monty showing up, 57 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs, 94 yards and a touchdown on the ground there. Now over to the Bears. There was some good news with Rome Odunze getting 11 of the 33 targets on the day. Finished with 7 for 128 and 2 touchdowns. So great news there for Rome Odunze owners looking for a breakout there. Now last week he had a good target share, just didn't connect well with Caleb. Today they had no issues there. Caleb just had trouble connecting with all of his other receivers, and he finished 19 of 30 for 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Tyson Badgett getting in at the end of that one. DeAndre Swift finishing 12 for 63 with a 20-yard touchdown. But all in all, DJ Moore just 5 for 46. And Luther Burden there getting into the action a little. Just 1 catch for 5 yards. So rough day at the office for the Bears and Ben Johnson in his return to the Motor City. So what do we have here? We've got the Lions backfield showing up. David Montgomery back in the end zone. Everything was rolling for Detroit today. But yeah, Caleb Williams struggling. All right, now to the big news injury-wise of the day, and that is in the Cincinnati-Jacksonville game. Many of you know Joe Burrow left that game with what initially was thought as an ankle injury. Now is being reported as a grade 3 turf toe injury. So we all know Brock Purdy missed action today and is expected to miss 2 to 5 weeks with his turf toe injury. Now a grade 3 turf toe injury is much worse. That's going to require surgery, and Burrow could be out up to 3 months. 3 months with that. So we're looking at October, November, December when Burrow might not be playing again until, so that is after Thanksgiving we're looking at. Now, Jake Browning steps into the forefront of the fantasy world. He looked solid, leading the Bengals back and giving them a come-from-behind victory today, 31-27 over the Jaguars. Browning finishing 21 of 32 for 241, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. So it wasn't pretty, but he got it done, and he sure knows how to find Jamar Chase. Yes. Look at the target share there. 16 targets for Jamar Chase. Now, Chase was hit with a touchdown. His only touchdown did come from Joe Burrow early in the first quarter. But Browning just continued to pepper Chase with targets, finishing 14 for 165 on the day. T. Higgins did get into the end zone late, and that was ended up finishing. He ended up finishing with 3 for 56 and the touchdown. Mitchell Tinsley grabbing the other beautiful touchdown in the corner of the end zone. So the Bengals looking at taking on about 10 or more games here without Joe Burrow. Bengals just can't catch a break. Last year, they, well, it was their own fault, but they started off the season rough, then got hot late, but it was too little too late. Now Burrow goes down with a tough turf toe injury. For those of you who haven't had a turf toe injury, I have, and it is painful. They need to call it something else, because it sounds like something you should, be able to, like, I don't know, put in a bathtub and it'll heal up in 2 or 3 days, right? Now, what it really is a broken toe. Okay, your toe is all swollen up, and usually, more often than not, it's your big toe. And the problem with it, so I had it in soccer, but in football and any sport, for athletes at pretty much any level. I mean, mine was just in high school, but at any level, athletes need to be able to cut. And there's not many sports where you're just running a straight line and you're very effective, right? It's cutting, it's moving, outmaneuvering your opponent, right? Anytime you cut with a turf toe injury, you are like ready to go fall down to the ground, because as soon as you put pressure on that ball point of your toe, it is just extremely painful. You cannot make cuts basically with this turf toe injury. And for a quarterback, like, whether it's your right toe and you're right-handed or your left toe and your left hand, it doesn't really matter, because either it's your back plant foot and you have to use that toe to plant, or going forward, your front foot, you have to plant also when you're going through your follow through. And so that makes it just extremely impossible, really, to be effective as a thrower with a turf toe injury. So, yeah, Jake Browning going to be the hot waiver pickup. Thankfully, my couple of leagues that I have Burrow, I have hung on to Jake Browning, just because, well, Burrow's basically the best player on most of those teams that I have, right? But when Browning came in a couple of years ago, I scooped him up and he performed well. So I'm like, well, the Bengals haven't really done much to help their offensive line, and Burrow doesn't like to get injured, but he happens to get injured a lot. And when you're talking throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I mean, hell, I could go out there and slick a few balls out that way and get a couple of completions. I would not do what Jake Browning was able to do today, but yes. So Jake Browning, if he's out there on your waivers, he will be heavily spent on, because you're going to get a few months of production here throwing the ball to Chase and Higgins. Now, obviously, you can see here that he loves throwing it to Jamar Chase. Now, let's not forget the Jaguars side of the ball here. Travis Etienne was the story last week, going over 100 yards on the ground, with much in doubt as to how many touches he was going to get, with himself and Tank Bigsby and the rookie Bashul Tootin in the mix. Well, Etienne showed last week that he was the top dog, so much that they shipped Tank Bigsby out to the Eagles. early this last week, and that upped Bashul Tutin's stock as well. As you can see, he got into the end zone on a catch earlier in the game. So he finished the day with 2 catches for 32 yards and that touchdown, just 8 for 42 on the ground. But ETN again leading the way, 14 for 71. He also got into the end zone on a reception, finishing 2 for 18 and a touchdown on the ground. So total that up, ETN finished with 89 yards and a score. Tutin finishing with 74 yards and a score. Diami Brown got into the end zone. Parker Washington actually led the way, 5 for 76. So a little disappointing here for Brian Thomas, just 4 for 49 on the day. And then Travis Hunter, just 3 for 22 on 6 targets. Now, 6 of 42 attempts isn't so great. That's only roughly, 15%-ish, somewhere around there, a little under. Brian Thomas, though, did have 12 targets. So 12 targets out of 42 attempts is still pretty solid for Thomas. Just Trevor Lawrence has got to get a little more accurate there. 24 of 42 is not going to cut it. And, Jacksonville missing a great opportunity here to steal one in Cincinnati, especially with Burrow going down. I mean, that's got to hurt. So the Jags missing an opportunity to move to 2-0. The Bengals themselves now move to 2-0, but lose Joe Burrow. All right. Next up, let's see here. As the Falcons tack on a field goal, nothing but a field goal fest. 12-6, Atlanta is in the lead now. We'll go over to the Rams-Titans matchup. So Cam Ward coming off of his rookie debut. He struggled last week against the Broncos. Now he gets the Rams defense. This one at home, at least. He did look a little bit better. Threw an ill-advised pass right before the end of the half that ended up being a touchdown to Alec Ayamaner. Him and Ayamaner seem to be connecting pretty well. So of those 3 rookie wide receivers that the Titans brought into camp, Ayamaner, Chimere Dike, and of course Ward's college teammate Xavier Restrepo, who didn't make the team. But Ayamaner seems to be the guy out of that winning the number 2 wide receiver role. He'd be a good waiver addition because Cam Ward's going to be slinging the ball. There's no doubt about that. And Calvin Ridley on 6 targets, just 3 for 57. So not quite the start we all have been hoping for with Calvin Ridley, but with Cam Ward being a rookie, it might take a couple weeks. I mean, I don't remember. I think Terry McLaurin didn't start out that hot either last year, but we'll see as the season goes on and Ward becomes a little more accurate. We'll see how it goes. Ward finishing the day a little better than last week, 19 of 33 for $175 and a touchdown. Tony Pollard adding 20 for 92 on the ground. Then over to the Rams. Matthew Stafford, 23 of 33 for 298, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Devontae Adams with a solid day, 6 for 106 on 13 targets. So a big day for Adams. Puka Nacua adding 8 for 91 on 9 targets. He also did get a 45-yard touchdown on the ground, so still a big day for Puka. Blake Corum did get into the end zone and steal a fourth-quarter touchdown from Kyron Williams, who finished with just 17 for 66 and no touchdowns. He did add a couple catches to bring his total yardage to 80 on the day. But, Blake Corum getting into the mix there, 5 for 44, so that's interesting. I don't want to look too much into that. The rookie everybody wants to see, Jarquez Hunter, did not... I'd have to look at it if he got the inactive tag. He was inactive last week. I don't know if Jarquez was active this week, but Yeah, that'll be interesting to monitor. Corum getting that work from Kyron Williams. I don't think that means that he's a sell necessarily, but oh, let's see here. What do we got? Should I sell high on Javonte Williams or keep him? Oof. Well then. So, well, it depends on your team. I mean, what what are you starting Javonte Williams? If you're starting him as your RB2, then you likely want to keep him. But if he's sitting on your bench, like, yeah, all day package him up with another wide receiver and move up the ladder at wide receiver. That'd be the easiest route to look for. But yeah, don't waste those points on your bench. And it doesn't mean that you want to necessarily sell Javante, because maybe your league. It all depends on what you can get for him. If you can't do that, if you can't move up the totem pole that way, like at wide receiver, then what other running backs do you have? Are you able to sell one of your top two running backs and then slide Javante into your lineup? Because I don't think Javante is going anywhere. Like, we were all scared of him, how poorly he played in Denver last year. But with his Dallas offense, he seems fine. I mean, I'm not saying he's a top 5 or 10 back, but you can pretty much count on. Talking to somebody about it on Friday night. You can pretty much count on the numbers that Rico Dowdle put up last year in this offense. That's probably what Javonte Williams is going to do. Because yeah, there's going to be people with, being lukewarm on Javonte Williams just because of basically where you drafted him, and people getting burned by him over the last few years. So there's some of that too. But no, I'm a believer. If you want to sell one of your other starting running backs ahead of him, because you've been sitting him on your bench, don't do that. Worst thing you can do is just sit a guy like that on your bench. Like, that's just wasting. That's just wasting away talent. Those points are going to be there every week. He's going to get the touches. I don't know that he's getting into the end zone every week, but he's their first option on the ground. I know that Miles Sanders got a touchdown today, but Javante's the main option. So one way or another, you've got to use this to your advantage. Nailing on a 10th round pick or whatever round you got Javante in, you've got to use it to your advantage. Don't just sit him on your bench. So either play him and trade somebody that you drafted higher, trade them for a better wide receiver, and then get Javante into your lineup, or package Javante up with another position, whether it's quarterback, wide receiver, or tight end, to move up the totem pole at that position. But he should be starting. He is one of the top 25 running backs. He's definitely a top 30 running back. I can't imagine your league not starting 30 running backs in a week. If you need to start 2 running backs and then there's 1 or 2 flex spots, you're going to have a couple of running backs starting there. So, yeah. But if you've got 4 good running backs, then obviously you've got one to deal away, and you need to make some moves there, Ty. All right. So that was the Titans-Rams game. I'm happy the Rams pulled that one out. I had the Rams in a eliminator pool, so that was good to see Rams come back and win that one. All right, another early one. Again, we mentioned Brock Purdy earlier, out today and should be out next week, and then we'll see where he's at with his turf toe injury. Again, I've had that injury, and I played through it, but I wasn't able to practice, and I literally could only run a straight line. Like, it was extremely painful to make any cuts. I wasn't able to play very effectively, so I didn't practice, and it took me about a month to get over it. Luckily, I got over it before the basketball season, but So yeah, for Purdy, I would not be shocked if it's the full 5 weeks that he is out. And same with Joe Burrow. Would not be shocked that it's, if it's a full 12 weeks before he plays. So then you're looking at, what would that be, week 14? So he'd be back for the fantasy playoffs at least for you. And you could do worse than Jake Browning taking over that spot for you in your lineup. I mean, we're already seeing backup quarterbacks getting in here. Mac Jones and now Jake Browning. So it's already started. Just like last year, a lot of the backup quarterbacks getting action, and same things happening this year, too. So, to Mac Jones, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks on the day. Kyle Shanahan working his magic. The touchdowns went to Jawan Jennings, CMC, and Luke Farrell getting into the action. So those of you who had George Kittle maybe picked up Jake Tongs, who had the touchdown last week, but now this week, him and Farrell basically splitting the work. So I don't know that either of them is a great option going forward. You got 5 targets to Tongs, 3 to Farrell, but neither of them are anywhere near as efficient as George Kittle. You see, yeah, there's targets there. So there were 8 targets to the tight end position, which is roughly, around 20% of the 39 attempts. But the key with Kittle is his efficiency. Like, he can do serious damage with under 20% target share. These two guys are not George Kittle. Okay, so yeah, in a desperation move this week, I can see it, but you've got to figure something out because these are not long-term answer. Now, I know Kittle, it was a hamstring injury, so you're probably looking at like week 5 when Kittle comes back. Purdy will be back maybe not by week 6. So, yeah, I would try and find another route other than using Tongs or Farrell here to replace Kittle. Ricky Pearsall just 4 for 56 on the day. As I mentioned, McCaffrey, he had the touchdown, went 6 for 52 through the air, did add 55 yards on the ground. So an all right day for McCaffrey. I mean, he over 100 total yards and the touchdown, showing no ill effects of that injury that scared everybody prior to week 1. And Juwan Jennings 5 for 89 and the touchdown. Now over to the Saints. Rashid Shaheed started off the day with a big 39-yard catch. Did get into the end zone, so 4 for 52 for Rashid. Chris Olave, 6 for 54, so not bad numbers for these Saints wide receivers. 25 to 34 for Rattler, 207, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. So the numbers look good for Rattler. He had them in the game. Alvin Kamara, just under 100 yards. No touchdowns, though. 6 for 21 through the air, so 120 total yards with 6 catches for Kamara. So the Saints offense, looking decent against a pretty solid 49ers defense. Juwan Johnson getting 5 for 49 and a touchdown. He's like the perfect replacement for George Kittle. Hopefully you were able to nab him in your in a redraft league from waivers. I don't know that in Dynasty he was on too many waivers. But yeah, I mean, if he's still out there, geez, he's got to be scooped up this week for sure. All right, so Spencer Rattler doing nothing to lose his job yet, so he's going to continue to keep slinging it for Kellen Moore there, even if they're 0-2 now. They're going to take their growing pains with Rattler, see what they've got, and maybe Shook will get an opportunity later, but right now Rattler's got the job under control. Let's see, we got a couple more early games. Yes, Buffalo and the Jets. Pretty ugly one here. Josh Allen basically just taking snaps and handing off all day, especially to James Cook. 21 for buck 32 and 2 touchdowns on the day with an amazing 44-yard touchdown run. Josh Allen did have a 40-yard run himself, so he got 6 for 59 on the ground, but only 148 yards passing, no touchdowns. So kind of a stinker here for Josh Allen. But when you're up 30-3 at one point, I mean, and you get all your touchdowns on the ground there. Elijah Moore added one on an end around. So yeah, nothing really going on much for the Bills wide receivers today. Keon Coleman was just 3 for 26 after his big week last week. Now over to the Jets, and this was just atrocious for Justin Fields. Coming off of a big week against Pittsburgh last week, there was high hopes that he'd be able to do it again, maybe against Buffalo, especially with Lamar Jackson having a big week last week. Well, yeah, he got 49 yards on the ground, but didn't even get 49 yards passing. So that is just gross. Like, Tyrod Taylor in limited action in the fourth quarter outproduced him through the air here, as you can see. Justin Fields 3 for 11 for 27 yards on the day. Like, that is just flat out yuck. And this Jets offense, this is what everybody was worried about this offseason with the Jets offense. Weeks like this. Like, yeah, Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson are where the touches are going to get funneled through. But when it's this gross, like Brees Hall 10 for 29 and Garrett Wilson 4 for 50, like that is just not going to cut it. And so now you're stuck with them because trying to sell them now this week, like you're not going to get as much as you would have if you tried selling them before for the matchups. Do I panic on A.J. Brown? Okay, well, we'll get to that one in a minute, but the short answer is no. The man is too damn good. It's only 2 weeks. If we're 4 weeks in and he's still under 10 catches on the year, then yeah. But right now, no. That's my answer, at least. We got a couple more early games here. Seattle and Pittsburgh. And this was Kenneth Walker coming back into the mix. So glad I started him. I hesitated. It was either Kenneth Walker or R.J. Harvey in one big league for me. And I went with KW3. No worries about his performance last week. Kenny Walker coming out 13 for 105 and a touchdown. Had the 19-yarder to seal the deal in the fourth quarter for the Seahawks. Sam Darnold on the day. Slide up here. Pretty efficient. 22 of 33, 295, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but getting the job done. Getting JSN and Cooper Kupp both involved. JSN with another big day, 8 for 103 after going 9 for 124 last week. So JSN getting plenty of action from Sam Darnold once again on 10 targets. Cooper Kupp this week shows up 7 for 90 on 9 targets. And Torrey Horton sneaks into the end zone, 2 for 32 on the day. A.J. Barner also got into the end zone for the Seahawks. Now over to the Steelers, who struggled today. Aaron Rodgers with a rough one, 18 of 33, looking his age. 203 yards, 1 touchdown to DK Metcalf in Metcalf's quote-unquote revenge game. I don't know that he necessarily wanted out of Seattle, so I'm sure he was happy to see some of his old teammates, but DK just 3 for 20 on the day. Did get in the end zone, though, to save his fantasy day. So going forward, this offense is just really hard to want to start anybody. I mean, DK got 6 targets out of the 35 pass attempts. So, not even getting a 20% target share. on this ugly offense, that's not good for DK. Um, but again, he got in the end zone to save his day this week. Jalen Warren did manage 86 yards on the or through the air, most of it through a big one there, a 65 yarder. Oh, McCarthy just fumbled. Yes, they're calling it a fumble. Yikes. Still 12-6 in this one as they start the fourth quarter, but that's not how McCarthy went in the fourth quarter on Monday night. Yikes. I was all pumped up about McCarthy tonight. Jeez. So Jalen Warren here, 86 plus 48 on the ground, so about 130, 134 total. That's solid. And with, Caleb Johnson just somehow starting the year off in Arthur Smith's doghouse, like, yeah, as long as this keeps going, Jalen Warren's startable. We'll just say that. Just keep starting Jalen Warren. I don't know how much he's going to get into the end zone, but he gets you some points just off of the volume alone. It's like 14 rush attempts, 4 targets. That's 15 to 20 opportunities a week. That's all you can ask for from Jalen Warren. He's not going to be getting any more touches than that. But again, with the old man Rodgers just not showing up, it's tough to start. There's no other Pittsburgh receivers you can think about starting. DK is a lower end flex right now. And then finally, last one of the early games, we had Cleveland traveling to Baltimore for their second division game to start the season. They lost at Cincinnati by 1 last week, and now they travel to Baltimore and get destroyed. Ironically, without Derrick Henry doing much at all after being a beast on Sunday night, just 11 for 23 this week. Had a couple fumbles too, didn't lose them, but yeah, Henry struggled today. Lamar getting it done though through the air, 225 and 4 touchdowns, 2 of which to Devontae Walker. DeAndre Hopkins getting into the mix as well, getting another touchdown this week. And then Tylan Wallace. So Lamar really spreading it around, but Zay Flowers here is the key. Look at this, 11 targets for Zay Flowers. So those of you who held strong with Zay Flowers are reaping the benefits definitely right now. Mark Andrews, not. Mark Andrews just doesn't like September. If you can buy Mark Andrews for super cheap, you can go ahead and do it because I think that he'll come around. And this offense is just too good to not have any use for Mark Andrews. That's all. I think that part of it is, Isaiah Likely, he actually needs Likely in the lineup to produce. Like right now, they're just asking him to block all the time. I know that Likely doesn't block, but it's part of the way that the offense is set up to have them both out there makes it more of a mismatch against most defenses. On the Cleveland side of things, Quinshon Judkins finally getting his debut. Off the field stuff aside, it's 10 for 61. Wasn't very effective early on. He did get a 31-yard run late, so that's a little misleading. But yeah, at the end of the day, the numbers are okay, I guess. 3 for 10 on catches, so 70 total yards and 3 catches. Dylan Sampson sneaking into the end zone late to save his day. Otherwise, just 4 for 6 on the ground, so not even 20 total yards for Sampson. So just gross day for the Browns offense altogether. Flacco, just 199 yards on 45 attempts. That is not going to cut it. So I don't expect them to make a change yet. But another week like this from Flacco, and you could see Dylan Gabriel getting a start. All right. So I'll also note Harold Fannin did go 5 for 48, so it's definitely a thing, right? Him and Njoku splitting the work here. So yeah, Njoku, that's scary for his value, definitely. And Fannin, yes, with Njoku probably leaving after this season, unless he stays with a cheap hometown discount. Um, yeah, that's a little scary, and Harold Fannin will continue to rise in value there. Cedric Tillman did get in the end zone, but otherwise just 2 for 22 total. And Jerry Judy 4 for 51, kind of, meh there. All right. Now we get to the late games, and this is where, your question, Sack of the South. All right. We'll get to your question right now on A.J. Brown. Let's talk the Super Bowl rematch with the Eagles Chiefs. All right. So the Eagles pulled this one out 20-17. They were up 20-10. Chiefs got a late touchdown, but then the Eagles were able to run the clock out on them. So A.J. Brown, 8 targets today on 22 pass attempts. I mean, you do the math. That's over a 33% target share. I am totally fine with it. I don't think, if you want to sell him, please get me into your league, because I am more than happy to buy me some A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith getting 4 for 53. Saquon Barkley leading the way for the offense most of the day. 22 carries, 88 yards. Did get into the end zone on a 13-yard touchdown. Jalen Hurts snuck it in on a tush push that shouldn't have counted, because they literally false started 2 times in a row there, and then they false started again on it later on the last possession when they ran out the clock. So, as much as I hate the officials giving calls to the Chiefs, they got screwed on this one today. But then they didn't help themselves any when Travis Kelce let a possible touchdown pass bounce right off his chest and into the arms of the can't think of his name, but the Eagles defensive back, who took it almost all the way back. One of the Chiefs linemen was able to knock him out of bounds. But yeah, I'm not panicking on the Eagles receivers. I know that it's efficiency here in that offense. It's not volume. You're not going to see a lot of passing from Jalen Hurts. So this is what you get. I mean, you're going to have rough weeks like this, but A.J. Brown, I would stay the course. That's my 2 cents on A.J. Brown there. Patrick Mahomes with an ugly one, 16-29 for $187. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Did add 66 yards on the ground with a touchdown, so kind of saved his fantasy day there. But between Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, just couldn't get things going there. Hollywood Brown, 5 for 30 after his big week 1 target share. Not so much this week. That was to be expected. I think that he got so many targets just because they had not game planned for Xavier Worthy being out. So this week they were able to game plan for it. And so they got Kelce 6 targets. Noah Gray got 5 targets, you can see there. And Tyquan Thornton, another 5. He got into the end zone on a bomb. Should have had another touchdown. Now, I think it was on that same drive. But yeah, the Chiefs just struggled today offensively, and the fact that they were able to get 17 points was very impressive, I want to say. I didn't think they'd get to 17 the way they were looking. They look ugly. But the Eagles defense tends to do that to people. All right, so now This one was a wild one. Denver at Indianapolis. And this one went back and forth. You had Daniel Jones and Bo Nix battling it out. Daniel Jones against the Denver defense. Man, before the season started, you would have thought this would have been an ugly matchup. Well, Daniel Jones went toe to toe with Bo Nix, finishing the day with 316 yards and a touchdown. Added a touchdown on the ground. Jonathan Taylor with a monster performance, 25 for 165, and a touchdown through the air where he went 2 for 50, so over 200 total yards for Taylor. Tyler Warren, 4 for 79. Alec Pierce, 4 for 68. Josh Downs, 6 for 51. These guys are all getting numbers. Michael Pittman, 4 for 40. Like, not monster numbers, but these guys were not getting anywhere near this with... These guys weren't getting anywhere near this with these kind of numbers with Anthony Richardson. Like, Anthony Richardson was doing Justin Field type things through the air. Gross. Man, McCarthy just missed Jalen Naylor. Would have been like a 70-yard touchdown here. Naylor had his guy by like 5 steps. Whew. Thought he was throwing to Jordan Addison, I think. All right, so Bo Nix over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. J.K. Dobbins, 76 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Now, R.J. Harvey, just 5 carries for 8 yards. Not great. Troy Franklin, though, with the second-year breakout happening, it is happening. 8 for 89 and a touchdown. Go out and get him if he's available on your waivers. Like, Cortland Sutton, just 4 targets. Troy Franklin, 9. I don't know. It's looking real. Yeah, 1 for 6 for Cortland Sutton on the day. Not great. Not good. R.J. Harvey with 1 catch for 16 yards. So, yeah, he's not quite a thing yet. I say yet because, well, J.K. Dobbins has never played a full season. So just keep that in mind. If you can get Harvey thrown in on a deal, I wouldn't mind doing that. But yeah, back to the Colts, and the way this one ended, the Colts were lining up for a 60-yard field goal, down 28-26, and forget their kicker's name, but he missed it wide right. However, one of the Spencer Schrader, that's his name, one of the Denver linemen, the guy lined up right over the center, decided to jump on his back, or not jump on his back, but push down on his back, and that's a leverage penalty. Personal foul, 15 yards, moved the kick up to a 45-yarder, and Schrader nailed that one, and the Colts came out with the victory. So big win for Indy. They moved to 2-0 now, and atop that AFC South division. The Broncos dropped to 1-1, so they're still ahead of his 0-2 Chiefs. Haven't been able to say that for a while. And now, tomorrow evening, we'll have the big battle in the second Monday night game as the Chargers travel to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Both teams 1-0, and the winner will sit alone atop the AFC West standings. Now, the other matchup, the earlier Monday night game, we'll have the Bucks traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. That one starts at 6 Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern. For all of you out there, we will have coverage. Matt English and I. Matt gets to talk about his home team. I get to talk about my boys, and it should be a lot of fun. But before we head out of here, let's finish up with the Carolina-Arizona matchup. This one started off terrible for the Panthers, and they could couldn't quite catch up. They made a late rally there. As you can see, they got 2 touchdowns late, under 6 minutes to go, but it just wasn't enough. And the Cardinals came out victorious. It was on the third play of the game. Bryce Young fumbled, and Arizona scooped it up and scored, and they never looked back. Now, stats-wise, it wasn't pretty. Kyler Murray, 220. Just an efficient day at the office for Kyler, 17 of 25 for 220, and a touchdown and a pick. Added 32 yards on the ground. James Conner, kind of gross, 34 yards and a touchdown. He did catch, oh no, that was a rushing touchdown. My bad. Connor had 18 yards receiving. Marvin Harrison, pretty non-existent, 2 for 27 there. Trey McBride, though, led the way, 6 for 78. Over to the Panthers, only thing of note is Ted McMillan, Tetaroa, going 6 for 100 on the day on 10 targets. Jatavian Sanders, a decent day at the office, 7 for 54 in that second half where they were just throwing it all. I mean, you can see Bryce Young threw it 55 times, so I would hope he got to 300 yards, which he did. So he definitely saved his fantasy day. I mean, Bryce Young way outscored Kyler Murray here. Bryce Young, 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. But yeah, this isn't what you really want to see. I mean, this is like Russell Wilson had a big game, but they were in it the whole way. This was just gross in the way that he ended up getting these yardage totals. Chuba Hubbard, 5 for 39 and a touchdown through the air, so he saved his day receiving wise, because he was just 10 for 38 on the ground. But yeah, if you could sell high on this performance, like, these numbers do not speak as to how poorly he looked today. That's Bryce Young. So just keep that in mind if people start trying to pawn Bryce Young off on you, because it's not advised. At least not by me. I mean, somebody out there might be saying, hey, well, Bryce Young, he's improving, right? No. This was not an improvement today. No. I am more than happy to, as a Bucs fan, to take on Bryce Young the way he's playing right now. As I mentioned, Bucs, tomorrow night, take on the Texans in Houston, 6 p.m. We should be doing a pregame. I still have to finalize that with Matt English tomorrow, but we'll get the show set up. You'll get notified when we're starting, if we're starting at 5:30 or 5:45, or just coming in later, like in the third quarter, and picking it up from there, talking about what went on, and then finishing the game up with you guys. But otherwise, that's about all I've got for you. Again, Sack of the South, do not panic on A.J. Brown. Go out there and get him. If you got Javonte Williams, hang on to him. Sell one of your other running backs, because I say Javonte is going to be the guy there. All right? There's a lot. You could do a lot worse than the Dallas running back, okay? I know that you might be thinking, oh, I got to sell Javonte now. No. Just ride it. Just ride it. Sell one of your other backs. Sell Chuba Hubbard. You can probably get more for Chuba Hubbard than you can for Javonte Williams, right? They're probably going to do pretty similar the rest of the season. So whatever running back you can get more for, all right? Neither is going to be a top 5 guy. Neither is probably going to be a top 10 guy, okay? So whichever one you can get more for, use them, package them up, or if the running back is good enough, like let's say you have, I don't know, you started off Chase Brown and Christian McCaffrey, right? Those are your first 2 picks. You could sell one of those 2 running backs now and get a stud wide receiver. Plug Javante into your lineup. And then you have a stud wide receiver and you got 2 solid running backs. Okay? Just an idea. But yeah, be flexible with it. Don't think that you have to sell Javante. All right? And do not sell A.J. Brown right now. No. If you honestly think that you can't handle these ups and downs, at least wait for a week where he scores a touchdown, okay? Because it's going to happen. A.J. Brown's too damn good. So don't waste the talent that's sitting there, all right? A lot of guys didn't do well last week, and now this week they broke out. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors in a big way. Neighbors had an all right week 1, but not like this week. Okay, George Pickens got in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? Like AJ Brown's gonna get his. He didn't all of a sudden fall off the map. All right, he can still play. I was watching some of the game. He can still play. There's just a couple bad throws. It's not like AJ Brown's dropping balls everywhere or whatever. No. Guy can still play. All right. You just got to take the good with the bad there because it's all about efficiency in that offense with both Brown and Devonta Smith. So if you can go out and acquire either of them, I would advise doing so. Yes. All right. Again, we'll be back tomorrow night. Thank you for joining tonight in the Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show, and you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. With that, again, I thank you and remind you that you should never stop working.